On Wednesday, I realized when I was doing the Oasis for our Wednesday evening that it was the 12th month, the 12th day, and the 12th year. 12, 12, 12. The cosmic birth is upon us, yes? We're giving birth to a new way of being in the world. Opportunities like this have come many times before, but we're here to gather together to celebrate in that awareness right now. And basically, it's a shift from separation to oneness. And it's going to take both the right and left hemisphere of the brain, the male and the female, the thinking and the feeling, to come together right now to allow this oneness to express on Earth. And with like any kind of birth, there's a lot of pain involved with it, isn't there? Anybody who's ever given birth, and I've been to 3 of my children. What did I just say here, Maggie? What are you laughing at? I've never given birth, but anybody who has given birth knows how difficult it can be to give birth. But then something beautiful comes out of the experience of that. Something beautiful comes out of our experience of allowing the contractions and reactions to open us up to bring forth something beautiful on planet Earth. And that's happening now, not just to any one person, but to all of us collectively as well. In the Bible, we hear our story being told. Right in the beginning of Matthew, before it says anything, it says this, the book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ. It says, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas, and Judas begat Aram, and please, it goes on for at least a half hour. And then finally it says this, then Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called the Christ. And suddenly, the genealogy stops. There's no way to go any further than that. Jesus didn't beget anybody. Jesus begot himself. And that's the meaning of the word Christ. 42 generations happened before, and then the fruition comes, that the being comes, just like Sid Author became the Buddha under the Bodhi tree. So Jesus comes and other avatar teachers to awaken us to who we are and tell us, this is your time. You are the only begotten who has forgotten who you are. You're here to awaken that, right here and right now. There are 2 kinds of births that happen. The first birth is obvious. Rhoda and Alvin get together, and they have Lisa, Debbie, and Richard. That's my genetic DNA that brought me before you. That's the first birth, which comes with all kinds of programming. And if I don't do the second birth, I'll be pretty much doomed to play out the same program. The second birth, the second coming, happens in you and me when we give birth to ourselves. To do that, we need to become the womb. We need to become our own father and mother, to give birth to our own magnificence. It doesn't happen by accident. You co-create in that process. You allow it to happen through you. You give it permission to happen through you. It's what Chardin calls Christogenesis. That's Jesus begetting the Christ, and that's you begetting the Christ inside of your nature as well. That's what you and I are here to do, and we're part of it, collectively happening all over the planet. Do you feel it? Not always easy. There's great pain involved with doing this as the old systems break down and we awaken to what needs to happen now. Because literally, for Christogenesis to happen, we need a complete overhaul of all of our systems right now. A complete overhaul. It's got to happen. And it's going to happen whether we participate in it or not. We can co-create our future, or we can watch it all collapse. And it's going to be a little bit of both. Overhaul. And I wanted to say, what's overhaul mean? Overhaul does not mean dismantling or tearing apart or falling apart. What it means is, and I asked my computer now, Siri, she tells me everything. I just love Siri. And she said to me, overhaul, I looked it up, a thorough examination of machinery or system with repairs or changes made if necessary. Well, do we not need a thorough overhaul of machinery and systems with repairs or changes that will be necessary? Who do you think are going to do these changes? Who? Who? You and me. You and me. I listen to people talking, and I hear them saying the same thing. I hear what they're saying. They say, you know, I just don't like how things are. I wish they were different. And here we are, 7 billion of us on this planet, all basically wanting the same thing. We want an opportunity to raise our children. We want prosperity. We want good health. We want this world to work for everybody. The Dalai Lama says everybody wants happiness. We just go about crazy ways of wanting it. So if 7 billion people want that, well, why are we not able, over these thousands of years of our history, able to create it? There must be something we're not getting. There's some missing piece to why we're not getting it, that if we knew what the secret was, we would get it. And we would all collectively agree to bring it forth on earth. What is that secret? We said last week, part of it was I am that I am. The other part of it is I am that I am, and we are all one. You hear this all the time. You take it for granted. But the truth is, for many people, this is new news. We are one. What you do to the least of these, my brethren, you're doing to everyone. We are one. One. Not just spiritually, but also physically we are one. We are one being. 7 billion cells in the body of God. All members of the body of Christ, each of us in our respective places. That's the oneness that's changing everything. Everybody's getting it. Science is going one. They're looking at the telescope, the microscope, they're getting down to the smallest thing, and all they can see is one. We're looking at our planet, and everything is happening on it. And it's saying, you're one. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll be drinking your own dirty water. You're one. You're one. The masters and sages and seers of the ages are here now saying, one. We're here. We're one. We're one being in many different bodies. It's beautiful. And the way we phrase it is that we are not just advanced physical beings. We are spiritual beings in physical form. Amen. That's the huge shift that's happening now in consciousness. Coming from everywhere and nowhere, from all traditions and no traditions. The fundamental churches are beginning to preach this gospel of oneness. Do you hear what I hear? I'm hearing it everywhere. Well, hell, well, you know, that's kind of not true anymore. Hell and heaven happen right here and now. I'm hearing this on stages with 55,000 people coming on a Sunday, hearing this word from fundamentalist preachers. It's happening everywhere. Oneness, the one. We are one being, and we're awakening to who we are. We're awakening to what Barbara Marx Hubbard, a great futurist, calls our nature as Homo universalis. Universal beings of light. Don't you love that word? I love Barbara. She's so good at putting language to it. You know, we went from Homo erectus, standing up with a very little brain, to Homo Neanderthal, beating everybody up, to Homo sapiens somewhere in the middle, and now we're engaging and becoming and giving birth to Homo universalis, a universal being that's aware of its connection to everyone and everything. And you who are sitting and listening to this are ready to embody it in whatever big and small, fantastic ways that you can. In 1984, I went on a trip with Barbara Marx Hubbard to the Soviet Union. I was like 34 years old, just a baby. And we went at a time when Ronald Reagan was calling the Soviet Union the evil empire. And there were groups of us who did not believe that that was true, and we wanted to go find out for ourselves. We were the evil empire striking back, but not with weapons of mass distraction. We were coming with, we want to see for ourselves who the enemy is. And you know what we found? The enemy is us. But it was frightening, because it was 84 now. KGB's still really big, and we were told that the soldiers, when we were leaving from Moscow, from Leningrad to Moscow, were going to be coming on the train to search us. And I'm telling you, when the train stopped, and 500 soldiers got on the train, and literally ripped our luggage apart, and searched us pretty thoroughly. It was some scary stuff that was coming down, but underneath the fear, there were people who wanted to hear the same story about our oneness that we did. They were everywhere. They were not buying what the Politburo was telling them about separation. In fact, they were beginning to see and open up to oneness. We'd spend time with these incredible people, living their life with them the way they were. We were all these New Agers in 84. Do you remember how doctrinaire we were? I only eat vegetables, I only drink pure water, and I don't eat any kind of animal protein. I hope they have good food there. They don't have good food there. It stinks. It's rotten potatoes and a lot of meat and a whole bunch of cucumbers. That's about all you get. You know, that was it. So you're there, you got to let go of that one. And you want to get to know people? You get to know people by walking in a snowbank at 3 o'clock in the morning because everybody's listening to everybody else, drinking vodka like crazy. That's how we got to know our brothers and sisters. And many of our New Age friends got to develop and grow and expand out of a limited way of what being spiritual looks like. Barbara Marx Hubbard literally was on national TV. Do you remember Vladimir Posner? She was there, and Vladimir was totally willing to hear the new story. We were part of a wave of consciousness that was helping a shift happen on planet Earth. And you and I, you right there, are part of the same wave. We've been through a gestation period. The 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and bingo, the birth is here. To being homo universalis. What does that mean? That doesn't mean you deny anything that's happening in life. It doesn't mean you're not aware of the darkness all around us. I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep at all last night. And I knew I needed to embody the pain of those families that lost their children, because I've lost my child as well. And I hadn't yet. I watched President Obama openly weep when he told the story of what was going on. But I hadn't done it yet. I was still sort of pushing myself away from embracing it. I just woke up and I sat and I meditated. And I did the crying meditation for an hour. I just breathed it all in and allowed myself to be a part of that. There's no evil outside us doing anything to us. Everything's happening through us. I let myself breathe it in and breathe it out. And then something released in me. I was able to come back to my center again, not by ignoring what goes on outwardly, but by embracing it and changing it inwardly, so something different could happen through me. That's the work of Homo Universalis. It's not going to stop. We are going to see a massive overhaul in everything. We're going to have to move out of everything that we've done. All of our systems are going to be need to look at and examine. The machineries that are breaking down. We're going to move out of the economy of fear based upon the Tao of the Jones and get into the economy of love based upon the Tao of the truth, the way and the light and the life that shares its energy with everybody. That's happening right now. Because you know why? Nothing else is going to work. Our oneness will kick our butt until we get that we're one. It's not going to stop. It's going to keep coming back and say, you're one, this is oneness, this is an opportunity to practice. And it doesn't mean you don't take Homo erectus with a little brain and the Neanderthal part of you and the Homo sapien part of you with you. They all come along, my friends. It's all part of the awakening that's happening. And the most important thing that you and I can do is to stay in contact with the bigger picture. Stay in contact with that which is within us but greater than us. Stay in contact with your beloved God. Stay in contact with that truth and listen to God speaking to you throughout the day. When I was in the darkest night of my thoughts this week, I was in the bathroom at one of my great sanctuaries, being by myself for a few moments. Some of my greatest moments happened there. How about for you? That's what God can, right? And I read this. God's name cannot be heard without response, nor said without an echo in the mind that calls you to remember. Say his name, and you invite the angels to surround the ground upon which you stand, and sing to you as they spread out their wings to keep you safe, and shelter you from every worldly thought that would intrude upon your holiness. I thought about that with all the family and all the children being embraced by angels' wings, angels of God. Their innocence is totally intact. They're being met by an angelic hierarchy that's saying, welcome home, welcome home. Very short assignment, but welcome home. Let's see what they choose to do with this information, with this news about our oneness. God's presence speaks to each one of us in so many different ways, not just in a Choose Once Again book, which is obvious. God speaks to you as a woman's intuition, often speaking through Maureen, who is 90% of the time right about everything. He comes sometimes as serendipity. Oh, serendipitous moment. How did I end up here on this corner? Or it comes as a moment of inspiration. Maybe you're having that now. Or a stroke of genius, or a blinding insight, or an epiphany. That's how God speaks to us in our own individual ways. And we are being called upon to continually deepen our connection to that voice of truth in us. To continually re-embody it over and over again in the midst of and in spite of what might be the most difficult things you might be facing in your own life. So let's just take a moment to look at what we might be screaming about here and talking about today as we embody and embrace the birth that's happening on planet Earth. Birth 2012. You know birth, right? Not always easy, but boy, when you see what's gonna happen, and you're seeing, we're getting like previews now. We're getting coming attractions of what my kids are going to grow up with. They'll be talking about oneness as if it were just a fact of life. Of course we're all one. That's going to be the new assumption that everyone's going to live out of. In 15, 20 years, they'll be talking about how is this part of oneness, or how is this part of our staying separate and afraid and fear of each other? That will be the question we will ask in 20 years from now, in 10 years from now, that we're asking right now in this room. So remember, Jesus begat the Christ. Siddhartha begat the Buddha. Moses begat the I Am that I Am. And we must do the same for ourselves. That's what you're here for. God's name cannot be heard without response, nor said without an echo in the mind that calls you to remember. Say her name, and you invite the angels to surround the ground on which you stand, and sing to you as they spread out their wings to keep you safe and shelter you from every worldly thought that will intrude upon our holiness. And number 3, God's presence speaks to each one of us in a personal way. We got our own burning bush, right? It's right there. Woman's intuition, serendipity, a moment of inspiration, a brilliant idea, a stroke of genius, a blinding insight, an epiphany. Learn to trust more and more in those ways in which the Beloved is speaking through you. Because there's a Bible being written. It's a scripture. It's the Holy Word of God. It's got your name on it. It's right there. It's got your name on it. And it says this: after this one begot that one, and that one begot this one, and the list of bodies that you have been in is endless. And the people and the ancestors who brought you to this moment are all part of the 42 generations that preceded this moment in time, this lifetime, this blessed, conscious lifetime, where your physical genealogy ends and your spiritual cosmology begins. The very angels and angels of God are proclaiming that you are not just an advanced chemical expression of physical life. You are a spiritual expression in physical form. That's the shift that's happening. And the diksha that you are receiving now, right now, in this moment, is that you are my beloved, in whom I'm well pleased. The only begotten has no longer forgotten who she is. And now, you go and be the midwife to countless others who need you now to give your birthing assistance. This is why we are here. You signed up and said, give me a body. I'm ready to be the light of the world. Namaste.